Good morning and welcome to Tuesday Patriot Radio News Hour. Let me say that again. Patriot Trading Group, Patriot Radio News Hour. I ate some chocolate a little bit ago. That was not a good idea. I don't usually do that, but somebody was really mean and put it right on the counter, right in front of my face. So every time I walked past it, and eventually I gave in. 800-951-0592. That's our toll-free number. The website, allamericangold.com. And, of course, we're on 1010 Family Values Radio here in Phoenix. One of the best producers around, Ramon, who also is the guy that takes care of the website at allamericangold.com. He's our producer here in Phoenix. Of course, 1360 KHNC, the radio station we own in Colorado, in Johnstown. Really proud to announce we have been operating at full power now for the last couple of weeks. This is the most power we can legally run, and that hasn't been done at the radio station probably in 10 years or more. So a lot of you that were in those some of those tougher areas, hopefully it's a little bit better for you. We're working on some things. We're working on an FM affiliate. We're also starting to work on more power. I know that we're all the way, we are starting to own Wyoming, Cheyenne, and even into Laramie as the roar of the Rockies gets better and better. And I will tell you guys, we got 2 more new shows starting this weekend, Saturdays and Sundays lineups. If you haven't, a lot of you, hey, the weekend stuff, back in the old days, it was repeats and a lot of this other stuff. Really some great new shows, a lot of new talent coming to 1360. And I know that we've got 2 new shows starting on Saturday as well. The Green Herb is back. They're going to be starting tomorrow. Linda and Alan are going to be back. They got a show on Wednesday, also a show on Sunday. New advertising. I just got an update on new advertisers. So, again, we're just getting started. We've got the transmitter situation under control. We've got it. It's a balmy 65 degrees inside the transmitter box and running at full power and getting ready to add even more. So a lot of great things happening. Couldn't do it without all of the great listeners. Don't forget the Facebook page. Follow us there. Go to 1360khnc.com and click the F for the Facebook. And then I'm going to be making an announcement hopefully tomorrow, but before the end of the week, as promised, in our podcast section, we will have about 4 hours when Eric was up there and kind of took over the radio station for, it was almost 5 hours. We didn't realize what was happening. We hit the record button as we realized what was going on. But that'll be available to everybody. Anybody who wants to get 4 hours of Eric. He plays music, takes you down memory lane, really good stuff. That'll be up there on the podcast section of the website, 1360khnc.com, before the end of the week. So I think that covers the announcements today. We're all caught up on the gold side of things. We products available, product shipping, everything's going about as smoothly as can be, and we are about as busy as possibly could be. I got a great special for you today. It's not as good as it was this morning. That's how fast it is. It just, every single morning now, people are calling ahead of time, and they just do it. Joe, what's the special going to be today? I got a call this morning, and I was like, I don't know yet. You're too soon. I just got a cup of coffee. Give me a few minutes. I'll tell you what we've got coming up next. We're going to be talking the dollar today. Gold's back above $2,000. Not surprised. Silver's back above $28. Shouldn't be surprised. And this is barely getting started. The dollar is broken down now completely. That 92.80 level is fallen. The 92.50 level, which was supposed to be support, has fallen. 92 now. Get ready. We're going to fall below that here pretty quickly. I've got new information on the Chinese and exactly what they're doing along with Russia and others, and what happened in the treasury market that got that. Remember that spike? We got the spike up without the rally in the dollar. I'll give you my spin on exactly what that was really all about. And it's, again, this whole thing here where we're entering this new stage of debt and this new stage of China emerging now as a major factor in the global marketplace. Steve Mnuchin was out, our Treasury Secretary, Captain Dead himself, trying to say, we'll see, saying that the Democrats are coming around to a quote-unquote skinny deal. Now, a skinny deal on stimulus and a number over $1 trillion, and that's the new skinny, right? This is, $1 trillion used to mean, and you were in the, not the big and tall, but the big and wide section, right? These you were getting specialty made clothing. Now they're trying to tell you a deal of over $1 trillion is skinny. That's how quickly things have deteriorated, and we'll talk about the ramifications of that. But here's what they're saying: $300. Everybody get ready. I think when they agree, that's going to be the number. The break. Stay with me. Got a great show, a lot of great information. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. My wife's here. Arlene is here. Jason's manning the ship up there in Colorado. Just a lot of things going on. The dollar, really quick. Let's check in here. You got gold now, 2005 and rising. The dollar down another 50 basis points, 92.30. It's been as low as 92.12. So getting ready now to get ready. It's going into the 80s, into the 70s, into the 60s, and it's not a good thing. It's just the continued weakness of the United States financially. And you think about, we officially went off the gold standard in 1971. So, of course, the citizens of the United States, we went off the gold standard in 1933 when they took the gold from us. And remember, they gave you $20.67, and then 90 days later said gold was worth $35. Right? The same thing I'm telling you is going to happen when we go to an electronic currency. They're going to try to make it seem normal, but then the devaluation will come. Trust me on that. We've been seeing the patterns, and I've been telling you the patterns since the 80s. And what has really happened? Why the 80s? What happened? Well, the answer is simple. 1981, we hit $1 trillion of debt for the first time. Now, the dollar peaked in the 80s at 135. As the debt grew, people got a little worried. Not a lot, got a little worried. In the 90s there, we had that recession. Remember the recession that got Bill Clinton elected? The dollar fell to like 84. And then, of course, Alan Greenspan, the maestro, right? And they made, smoothed it over, and everyone felt good again. Of course, what they did is they blew the tech bubble, right? So that hit, the dollar rallied back to 120. Of course, then we knew the tech bubble blew up, right? And then 9/11, and after 9/11, they took interest rates to 1% and created the housing bubble and the financial crisis. The dollar went down to the low 70s, like 72. And then they fixed it. Remember, we fixed it, right? We had QE 1 and 2 and 3 and twist again, and all the programs. And everything was wonderful again. The dollar didn't go back to 135. It didn't go back to 120. Went back to, it's like 102, 103. May have interday hit 104, but right around that, we'll call it 103. Okay. Of course, now right, we've got who knows what, $5-6 trillion deficit ahead of us, and all of a sudden the Chinese are doing cross-border trade and getting out of dollars, and the dollar's showing weakness. And we're already back at 92, getting ready to go to 91 and 90 and 80s. We're back in this next cycle here down. And every time in these cycles, we've had lower highs and lower lows. Right on the gold market, what are we experiencing? The exact opposite, right? Higher highs and higher lows. The Treasury Department announced that there was a little problem at the Treasury auctions. And, of course, we saw there for about a week or so. Remember, we had that anomaly where interest rates were rising and the dollar wasn't rising with it. Of course, now that's reversed itself. But foreign governments have reemerged as net sellers of U.S. debt. And, again, this is something that we've been watching here, right? We've got huge amounts of debt that we need to sell. The foreigners, at least the foreign governments, less and less willing to buy it. And again, remember why they buy U.S. debt. Why does the Chinese buy U.S. debt? Why do the Germans? Why do the French? Why does Mexico and Canada, why do they buy it? I mean, they got their own debt. Why not buy their own debt? The answer is really simple. A lot of things that they buy, and really all things, it's still priced in dollars. Now, of course, with technology, it's priced in about everything now. But they use dollars, right? There's a lot of companies out there that'll say, hey, you know what? We only want to take dollars. Used to be every company out there would only take dollars. Now, of course, they take they take all kinds of different currencies. But they knew they had to buy, you know what? I've got to buy crude oil. I've got to buy rice or cotton. I've got to buy lumber or iron ore or steel, whatever it was. And they would buy treasuries knowing, hey, like a budget. Right? And they would hold it in treasuries until they need it. You got to remember, you can buy a 3-month note, a 6-month note, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. I mean, all different varieties. And it used to be that these governments got paid interest, just like you used to get paid interest. It was a good deal. Hey, I'm going to buy this 2-year note, and I'm going to buy $1 billion because I know 2 years from now I'm going to have to buy this stuff. And again, a lot of the treasuries held by the foreign governments, it's shorter dated, 2 years and less. But they'd get a rate of return that usually was even greater than the rate of inflation. And the dollar had been fairly stable, so it made sense. Well, now the dollar's no longer stable. Right? Think about, it took us 205 years to get $1 trillion in debt. And now the Treasury Secretary's out talking about a skinny deal. I mean, over $1 trillion, but it's skinny. We're going to run $5-6 trillion, $7 trillion debt this year. We're now, our debt level's 136% of our GDP and rising. And now all of a sudden, foreigners are dumping. The main dumper, it's pretty easy, right? The Chinese. And the reason is simple. Hey, we're not using dollars like we used to, right? We're trading with the Russians in renminbi or in euros, and we're trading with the Germans in euros, and we're trading with the French in renminbis, and we're trading with the English in sterling, and we're trading with the Australians in renminbi, and whatever it is. The key thing is they're not trading dollars. China in June alone dumped over $10 billion of U.S. treasuries. Other sellers, Spain, Hong Kong, Canada, Australia, were all net sellers of U.S. treasuries. And I think this is going to continue. This is a pattern that we're going to continue to see. And this is why, right, we're seeing the pressure on the dollar. This is why, too, you saw that spike up in treasury yields because there's like, whoa, hey, well, we got to try to up the ante here, try to save the dollar, try to save it. Didn't work, right? Because China's been flooding the news with how many dollars they've been getting rid of. And of course, it's creating this, very logical, right? Everybody, we see it. It makes sense. And this is just the path that we're on. So when we're looking at the dollar now below those critical levels, and you're seeing gold's now up 20, silver's up 50, and it's going to continue. Yesterday, we ran a special with $5 Liberties and $5 Indians. We sold out of the Indians. Today, I had 100 when I started the morning. We've only got 42 left. These are the $10 Indians. So this is, again, probably another month before maybe late September, we may run some Indians again. These are much harder to get. Really good value on the $10 Indians today. $10 Indians, they're $1,175. Today, these 42 that are left, the exact same price as a $10 Liberty today. So the $10 Indians are at $1,150 today. There's 42 remaining. That puts you, right at $2,300. You got gold over $2,000. That is really good value for you. And you're, compared to the $5 Indians, it's over $100 an ounce less than the $5 Indians. So the $10 Indians today, the last 42 of them. This is the Lady Liberty with the Indian headdress on at $1,150 at 800-951-0592. Now we're going to talk about the history of the dollar. The dollar became a dominant player when we won World War II. Right? And, of course, Bretton Woods. For those of you that don't know Bretton Woods, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But Bretton Woods, that was what we got for winning the war. And I got to tell you right now, in the history of things, maybe one of the greatest central bank move in history, in my opinion. And the reason for that is they said, hey, everything needs to be bought in dollars. Everything. And it was a boon for the United States. Now, at the time, we were the supplier of the world. And think about it. Europe was decimated. Japan was decimated. Right? And everybody had to rebuild, and they had to buy everything from us. And Bretton Woods lasted a really long time. I mean, really, when you think about it, Bretton Woods only went away in the last less than 20 years. So over 55 years, everything was bought in dollars. Of course, that's no longer the case. And before that, people don't realize the Russians were a powerful country, right? We remember the Cold War, but before the Cold War, I wouldn't say you could say we're allies. I don't know if we were friends, but we got along. And there was a conference in all places in Tehran, right? In Iran. I mean, think about how long we've been meddling in the Middle East. As way back as 1935. And then they had another meeting in Yalta in 1945, and we used to communicate with the English and the Russians and us about the dollar. And of course, by the early, by the end of World War World War II, the Cold War had started with the Russians, and the United States was really the superpower of the world, right? Russia kind of had that little, the Eastern Bloc, but they really didn't go beyond that. Everybody else was with the Americans, right? And you had to buy everything in dollars, so you kind of, you had to be with the Americans. Probably why the Cold War started to begin with. We phased out the Russians, right? Said, hey, no, everything's in dollars. And, of course, China was sleeping, right? There wasn't a lot of trade going on with them, and we emerged as the winner and the world superpower. But now, think about today. Who's the supplier of the world? Who's the supplier of the world? It's the Chinese, right? They're the suppliers of the world. Who's the largest debtor nation in the world? That's us. Right? This is the shift that we're starting to see. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break.
Sir, yes, ma'am, back.
800-951-0592. We have eight $10 Indians left. I apologize. Just this is how it's going to be. $1,150 on those 8. I'm working on another. I'm working on something else here. We'll see if we can get it done before the end of the day. If you've never done business with us, we're not like everybody else, right? We don't pay people to sponsor us, right? We don't pay Rush Limbaugh and Bill O'Reilly or Alex Jones or Michael Savage. And I'll just be honest with you. Every one of those companies, rip off. Every one. The guys on TV, same thing. Anybody telling you to get a free brochure, right? The F word, if you will, right? Nothing's free. And by the way, I know what brochures cost. And they have these fancy ones, too. Full color, right? 4, 5, 6, 8 pages. Some of them I see, they give you 3 different reports and a DVD and all that. You pay for that. You pay for it. This is why we've been doing here 25 years without complaints. All of these other companies, they all have complaints. Listen, for every one person that complains, there's probably, 100, 1,000 others that just, lesson learned, right? It's too big of an aggravation to complain, and they just let it go, and then they either never buy again or find a better gold dealer. We don't have those, never, because we don't play games. We don't overcharge you. Most of the time we tell you, when you call up, just say, I want the special. And our big question is, how many would you like? Now, today, obviously, there's only 8 of the Indians left at $1,150. But even after they're sold out, whatever the next best deal is, that's what we're going to sell you, period. We want you to buy as close to spot as possible. Obviously, as the spot price rises, right, it gets harder to do. Especially, you think about the mints. The mints aren't producing, right? The gold eagles and the silver eagles are gone. I mean, think about silver eagles today. $40? But the paper price of silver is $28 and change. Right? This is the type of demand. A huge articles, and I'll get to that hopefully today, if not tomorrow. The ETFs, the demand has been so great that they've had to, and I'm going to use quotes here, you can't see them on the radio, buy from central banks because there's not enough gold out there for them to buy. I'll get to that in a minute, but this is how big the demand. And remember a couple weeks ago, the ETFs are now the second largest gold holder in the world behind the United States. Of course, I think China is actually up there, but we know that game. Speaking of China, look at where we're at now. Think about, we were in this Cold War with Russia, right? We won. Russia lost, right? We said Bretton Woods, everything in dollars, to heck with the Russians. The Russians got that Eastern Bloc of countries, but that was it. Nobody else wanted rubles. They all wanted to do things in dollars. Let's look at today. I mean, doesn't it feel like a Cold War with China, right? Think about the big trade war, right, which obviously because of COVID is lost a little bit. But China, they signed it. They had no intentions of fulfilling it, How about just the last few weeks? Right, we forced them to close their consulates in, what was it, I think Texas and San Francisco, and then, of course, they said they're going to close consulates. We had to close consulates over there. Now, of course, we're going after the apps. We're going after TikTok. We're going after Huawei. We're going after, what's the other? I forget the other one. WeChat. Right, this Cold War type stuff. Reporters on both sides having their visas revoked. Each government is now accusing the others of spreading coronavirus, right? China says, hey, it didn't happen in the wet market. The U.S., we had a troop meeting over there in Wuhan, and all of a sudden it broke. That's the story there. And you think about all the other things that we don't even hear about that's going on between, how about the South China Sea? Right, Hong Kong, Taiwan, right? You think, right? This thing keeps growing, right? It's turning into a Cold War. Look at what China's doing militarily, right? They're putting all those aircraft carriers, right? They're spitting them out like hotcakes. In a speech last month, the Attorney General of the United States stated that the ultimate ambition of China's rulers isn't to trade with the United States, it's to raid the United States. And that's a fact. And I've been telling you this for a long time. They're not our friends. They're our competitors. This isn't a game. This is real life. Now, the question that you've got to ask yourself, what position are we in? Right? We're the largest debtor. We're seeing the use of our currency diminish. And it's not just, this isn't new. Now, the pace has gotten faster. But this has been happening for a while now. And think about, what was it, 4 years ago now? That we made China, we put the renminbi in the basket of currencies, right? It's now a accepted global currency. And it really started off slow. First couple of years, not a lot, and then it started growing. Now it's sprinting. The renminbi as a percentage of use, right? They're doubling and tripling year over year the percentage of use of the renminbi. I mean, it's incredible the speed at which it's happening. And you think about, the Cold War with the Soviets, right? We were the rising power. Right now, who's the rising power? I mean, everyone, hey, who's the rising power of the world? It's China. China's the rising power. China is one of the world's biggest creditor nations. All these countries owe China money, right? China's investing, whether it be in African, in Asian, European countries, right? They're the ones supplying the world, right? Think about, we're trying to ban Huawei and 5G. Look at all the European governments that said, listen, we're going to go with them. They're cheaper. Yeah, they're spying, but so do you, right? You spy on us too, right? That's their mentality. They are the world's biggest creditor nation. And of course, I've already said, no one is a bigger debtor nation than we are. This year alone, the U.S. government increased its national debt by $5 trillion. That's a book still not done to being written. $800-951-0592. Gold's up 26 at 2011. Silver about almost another 75 cents here. 28.25 on silver today. So silver pretty much, silver got to 30 overnight, and gold hit 21 before the big sell-off there. But before that, silver was at 28.50. Gold was at 2,000 and like 2,070, something like that. So silver's almost all the way back. Gold, same thing. Gold's almost all the way back. These dips are just that, buying opportunities. There's just a couple Indians left now. If you want to just pick those up, you can. I've got 23. I wish it was more. This is what it's going to be, and I've been saying this now for about a month or so. Every day, this is what's out there, and this is what you can do. I've got 23 $20 gold pieces, and I'll do those $22.65. I'll do them $22.50. There's only 23 of those today at $22.50. 800-951-0592. Silver's just, dimes and quarters are what's readily available. Quarters are at $2.45, dimes at $122.50, and rising. I mean, just harder and harder to find out there. But talking about, think about what's happened. Right? We had the trade war, and China signed an agreement that they weren't going to honor, but they were buying time. Right? They dragged it out. Right? That trade war went on a long time. Almost a couple of years. Then they signed it. Weren't going to really do a lot with it, but they were just stalling and buying time. And now today we kind of realize, what were they doing with that time? They were setting up cross-border trade everywhere. The fact that so many nations have agreed to do trade with China in something other than dollars. And it's not just the renminbi. I mean, the renminbi is a lot of it. But the euro, they're using the euro a lot. And then you start thinking about where we're at. Think about where we're at as a nation right now. Think about our local governments. And we don't talk a lot about the cities and the states. They're under duress. Right? Get ready. Huge tax increases are coming. How are you going to pay for all this stuff? California's talking about another wealth. I mean, how much more tax can California put on people? But they've gone a step further. Not only do they want to put this tax on, if you try to leave the state, right, they're going to somehow try to hit you anyway. So keep that in mind. They're going to be following everybody leaving California. Well, the last person out of California turned the lights off. But you think about local, the state level, the federal level. Then think about all the politicians we're electing. Think about the right. We're calling them socialists. But, I mean, Bernie Sanders, dude, he's far left socialist. I mean, it's borderline communist. I mean, you think about AOC, right? And all of these people, and they keep winning everywhere. You're talking about, they say Colorado's purple. Colorado's blue. I mean, the Front Range, that's about Colorado Springs. The Front Range, about it. Right? Arizona now, they're saying Arizona's purple. They're talking about Texas being in play now. I mean, this is, and again, why? The influx from all the failed blue staters, all you failed blue staters. We should have, at the borders to Arizona, as they're driving in, we should have a checkpoint where you turn in your liberal card. Don't bring these failed policies here to Arizona. But here they come. Think about all of the financial engineering that we've done to try to save Wall Street. Look how ridiculously priced Wall Street is right now. Matter of fact, they're saying valuations now are the highest ever, which makes sense. Of course, we should take out the tech bubble. Look how much more debt we've created. Socially, the country's lost its mind, right? All the riots. Right? I don't even know. What has it been, like 3 months of riots in Portland? Really? Seattle's a mess. Chicago's a mess. I mean, New York is dead. My mom, my relatives, they live in New York. They tell me New York City is a ghost town. Nobody's there. And the policies that they have. Did you see any of the Democratic National Convention? I'll tell you the part I saw. It wasn't on purpose, because I forgot I was even on. I saw Michelle Obama speaking. And I'm telling you right now, I was just waiting for her to say, for as little as the price of coffee a day, You too can help all the poor people out there. I mean, it was ridiculous. Hard to imagine. Isn't it hard to imagine we're going to win this Cold War with China? Because that's really what it is. Right? This is the new battle. And I think this is why you're seeing all the pressure we're seeing on the dollar, because people know, listen, this skinny deal, it's not the end. It's not the end. What are we going to do in 2021? Did you see, you know what, we'll get to this next. After the break, in the short segment here, I'm going to tell you how quickly and how big of a mistake the people that didn't get that extra $600, the amount of people not paying the mortgage now hit a new all-time record high. That's right. Think about the house. Remember the housing crisis, jingle mail, right? It was ridiculous. According to the government agencies now, people not paying the mortgage in August, we're now at new all-time record highs. I mean, it's nuts. But hey, Wall Street touched an all-time high while the S&P did early this morning. Pacer Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. Somebody please hurry up and go further into debt because the economy can't take much more. Shares of delinquent FHA loans rose to 15.7% in the second quarter. That's a 60% increase from the 9.7% of the previous 3 months. And it's also the highest level on record. By the way, they've been keeping records of this since 1979. I wonder if that's when the FHA was started, but it's dating back to 1979. By the way, the delinquency for conventional loans, 6.7%. Incredible. I mean, we've never seen numbers like this. And of course, New Jersey, by the way, was the highest. They were the worst. Think about New Jersey, 20% delinquency rate. So 1 in every 5 homes in New Jersey, no one's paying the bill. I mean, how long does this last? How long do you hide all of this? Think about all the debt that's behind it. And again, right, remember, I told you already, I educated you how these banks were cheating on their stress test, about how much exposure they really had to these derivatives. How many of the derivatives were in the housing market? I don't know. How many of them were in the commercial real estate market? Because I've got to tell you right now, whatever the housing number is, the commercial real estate market's even worse. But I'd probably say double. Right? So if 15% of people aren't paying the mortgage, at least 30% of the people aren't paying the rent, at least on the commercial side. Think about all the exposure that really is. And how do you pay for it? How do you cover it up? All you do is keep printing money. That's why the gold train isn't going to stop. 800-951-0592, U.S. $20 gold pieces. While we still have them, $22.50 at 800-951-0592. There may be an Indian or two left. Those were at $11.50. So just ask Sarah or Arlene if there's any left. If there is, they'll give them to you. Gold's up 20, 2011, 2010. Silver up over almost 75 cents here, $28.25. The Dow's down 20. But the S&P and the NASDAQ are up. Think about the news we just talked about. Right? People, the worst mortgage paying ever since they kept record for FHAs, and you would think, oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry. Be happy, right? Play that song. And again, be your own central bank. I didn't get to it today. I'll try to get to it tomorrow. Talking about what the ETFs, where they've had to go to buy their gold that they legally need to own, and it's an interesting place. I'll tease it a little for you. The Bank of England. Now, the Bank of England sold most of their gold. They got like 300 metric tons of it. But apparently, almost a third of that now is owned by one of the ETFs. So some interesting developments. We'll talk about that tomorrow as we get to it. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Everybody take care. God bless everybody. We'll be back for a hump day tomorrow.